Bryan Danielson comes out to start the show with Tony Schiavone in the ring. And dude, Schiavone is just so excited about the week ahead. We've got Forbidden Door, Blood and Guts next week. And Danielson notes it's a great week to be an AEW fan and a professional wrestling fan. He plugs Forbidden Door that will feature the two best professional wrestling companies in the world, which are just taking a bow and arrow to Twitter. I mean, just can you imagine the fallout?
He did say professional wrestling. Did not say sports entertainment.
I will tell you, just tweeting out notes from that Tony Khan panel on Wednesday, the responses you get, it's like, dude, it's insane. It's just like crazy people.
You're dropping blood into the water. Yeah.
It's like the anger at like I tweeted out like the expected attendance for Forbidden. I'm like, these are numbers. It's like, my God, it's crazy. But nonetheless, he was expecting to be part of both Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts, and brings up Zack Sabre Jr.'s challenge to prove who was the better technical wrestler. And Bryan Danielson was excited for this, and he was excited to crush the man's trachea. He had this all mapped out. He was going to stomp his trachea. But unfortunately, due to anarchy in the arena, he is not cleared to compete at Forbidden Door or Blood and Guts, and then got all fired up about the fact that he can still read 500 words a minute and run 2 miles without breaking a sweat. So he's going to be just fine, okay? He can still speed read. He's all set to go.
500 words a minute. Wow, that feels like a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's like that was like an essay for me in like grade 10. He goes over all the injuries he's come back from in the past, so don't worry about him. Eddie Kingston called me a judgmental prick. Damn right I am. I have high standards, and I've found the one person I trust to take my spot at Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts, who can take it to Zack at a technical level and then come back and kick Chris Jericho's ass. You will be astounded by what he'll do in AEW. But I came out of the bad guy ramp, and I'm not going to tell you, and I'm not going to tell Zack Sabre Jr. either, and this crowd was so deflated. So tune in on Sunday, and he promises the greatest technical wrestling match of their lives when they tune in on Sunday. And then Zack Sabre Jr. walks out, and we cut to the back. We never heard from him. He just walked out.
Yeah. I mean, that part didn't really surprise me a whole lot, John. You know, like we all love Zack Sabre Jr.'s promos, of course. Maybe a little bit of disappointment.
I was all ready to like, even sick. I would have done it for tonight. You
were already typing in dickhead in your notes before you had to delete them. Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean, I got to say, listen, John, they had a lot to cram into the show, a lot of things that they had to announce. And at this point, if you don't know who Zack Sabre Jr. is, you're not going to care anyway. But if you know, all you really needed to do was to see him out in person. We had a little bit of a face-to-face for Bryan, and this was essentially a segment that told you, you're not getting it this Sunday, but eventually down the line, we are going to get that match.
I think that was the takeaway here is that, you know, they know that people want this match, and you will get this match at a time to be determined. I will say this though, like you were tuning in, and yes, there had been the reports that like he's not going to be cleared, but I think a lot of people were tuning in and they didn't know for sure what the status was going to be. So it is going to be a letdown of an announcement that Danielson has to give you, and then I think at the end, I think you want to give your fans something, and it was almost like a double shot of tune in on Sunday to find out who it is. And there are times to do the surprise. And I think there's sometimes that you throw a bone to your fan base. And I just thought with both of these, it was just like a double whammy that your audience took. Like, we're not getting Danielson, and you're not even going to tip your hand as to what we're getting on Sunday. And I just felt this was one where maybe we did the surprise for Sunday.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah, especially I think it's one thing if it's a TV show, you want to tease who's going to show up next week. But I think for a pay-per-view, especially if it's a big name, and it better be a big name.
It has to. It has to. This cannot be something where it's just no offense to the guy, but like John Hennigan. You know what I mean? But yeah, this has to be huge. And you know, the three that I saw most prominently: Cesaro, Johnny Gargano, and Zack Sabre Sr.
Zack Sabre Sr.
Yeah, that was a joke one, but I laughed at that response I got. But yeah, the two were like Cesaro and Gargano that I saw the most from people responding.
And I mean, of the two, I suppose either would fit into great technical wrestler, but I think in terms of star power, I get the sense a lot of people are wanting to see Cesaro in AEW finally. Him coming in as a part of the Black Bull Combat Club, I think makes a whole lot of sense. It's a match that would be worthy of, I think, elevating Forbidden Door to, that, wow, what a great show, what a great surprise type of status. So to me, he feels like a front runner for who it is. And if that's the level of expectation, if they deliver, below that, people are going to be disappointed. So they have to, I assume, know what they're doing. But this is Tony Khan, and he has under delivered on big promises before, at least according to the audience. So we shall see.
Regal did say that he's got Johnny Saint's number on speed dial.
Wow. Hey, that would be quite the match, I'm sure. Yeah. This is unfortunately just, a rough string of injuries that are going around, not just in AEW, but in professional wrestling. But this timing of this injury in the midst of this show with a number of their top stars out in Kenny and, Punk and Bryan and Jeff Hardy, if you want to classify.
It's a star that's unavailable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a major hit. This would have been a match that I think would have really bolstered the card on paper in terms of how many dream matches are they fulfilling with this brand versus brand concept. So they don't have it, but they can make good with a big surprise on Sunday.
John Moxley promo in the back.
But by the way, Bryan did not mention what sort of injury this was. Now, him mentioning that he could still read 500 words a minute, in addition to being able to run really fast, I suppose tells you it could be some sort of combination of a head injury or, body injury. But I feel like the big news would be if he did suffer any sort of head injury. Since his return, we have not necessarily had that case to deal with in professional wrestling. What is the proper protocol for somebody with this history, and what does it mean for long-term effects for him?
Yeah, that's going to be the speculation that you have coming out of this, and I think you treat it like anyone with a concussion.
But different with Bryan
is different. He has also come back, and it's been over 4 years of him coming back, and it's not like I don't think we even have a case of him having a concussion in that time span.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So does the brain necessarily just heal that way? Ultimately, he does have a more riskier case than other people. So is it different? You treat a Bryan differently if he has suffered a concussion versus somebody else?
Yeah, I really don't know the answer to that question. And I don't know if I can even answer if he's necessarily at further risk. Like, yes, he has the history of it. But it's not like this guy has been, working like a conservative style, especially in this AEW run. And thus far, like up until now, like he has not had an issue. And again, we are, speculating here about what it is. But I think given his description here, that's where a lot of people are going to jump to conclusions.